you say
Testing.
No clapping?
Not yet.
We clap right before we start.
As a
Yeah, it's actually
some
like
marker.
if you want to do edit on multicam, it's so easy because that clap syncs all the three angled together, and then you can edit it in a way where like when you're talking, cut to your clip. You know what I'm talking about? It's just more dynamic. But you can just post
easier for slicing.
Yeah. But even if you post this on open, it'll still crop in like that. It's pretty sick.
What, on Opus?
I tried a couple of actually. Okay, so I need one person to clap, like a clean one, not many claps, just one. Okay. All right, good to go.
What's going on, and welcome to another episode of the Becoming a Better You podcast. It's your boy, Coach Paul, live and direct from the podcast studio in Richmond, where we are utilizing this space to really share some amazing stories and give a lot of value to the world. And so today we have on the podcast an amazing human being, an amazing member of our A Better You Fitness family. She recently went from just being one of our kick-ass members to now becoming a coach so she can help us support and help other women get amazing results and completely transform their lives. So, Rosie, it is a privilege to have you here. I am grateful for you. And let's kick it off. Tell everyone who you are, tell them where you come from, and let's share some value.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I think one of the biggest takeaways of even just sitting here in this chair is that I get to be here. There was a moment that I was really a shell of a person. And before I walked into the doors at A Better You Fitness, I wouldn't think I would be able not only to be back to somewhat functional, but thriving. So I thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here in this state. My name is Rosie. I am a 36-year-old woman from Hayward, California. I am a single mom of three very wild and active boys that eat me out of house and home. And I really couldn't imagine a day without that life, but there was definitely days that I had to push to get through that life. I am a sister, a daughter. I am a college graduate, but that wasn't without struggle. I remember when I was finishing high school, it was tough. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was in a marketing class, and there was a public speaker that actually came in, and she presented to get people to go to the Fashion Institute. And I'm like, oh, I could do that. Like, not only go to the Fashion Institute, but like I could speak, I could talk. And it's probably better that I go to the Fashion Institute because I know nobody that's going to go there. Coming from Hayward, it was a really tough spot where if I continue to go and be with some of the same groups of people, I knew myself that I would mess up. Like if I went to, at the time, it's Cal State Hayward. If I went up to Cal State Hayward, I wouldn't have gone to class probably after break or lunch because I would go home, we start messing around. I'm like, oh, I can miss this next class and it'd be okay. Then it wouldn't be okay. I can go to Chabot. I would do the same exact thing. So I actually chose to go to a school that I had to get on BART every single morning and go out to San Francisco, and my butt had to stay in San Francisco. There was no coming home in between breaks. That was some of the discipline I had to teach myself because I was so aware of what I would do if I was to give into my own impulses. From there, I was able to, get a job in technology and when it was really big and booming and provide a life that I'm thankful for today. But I also was able to have my son, my 11-year-old son, early because at the time, things happen in phases. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get married. I should get married. Oh, I'm going to have a kid. I'm going to have a house. I'm going to do this. But there's parts of me that I'm like, okay, I've done those things and I'm still not feeling like me. Yeah. I don't feel fulfilled. But what is wrong with me? Because technically I've checked those boxes. So that's when I started kind of battling some of my own demons. I'm like, well, if I've checked these boxes And it's still not good enough for myself, because on the outside, it looks like, okay, you got your stuff together. Like, you have the life that you should have. But when you say should have, it's like, well, who's the one talking? Who's that narrator? Because my narrator of my life wasn't happy. And how do I get past that? I, was a single mom with at the time, a 2.5, 3-year-old boy. I just was grinding. I had to, push through and figure out how to do things. I am very, very lucky. I have a good family system. I have a good support system. I have my parents that are always right there. But that comes with a sense of like not always being alone, but you are alone. Like, I can't always tell them exactly what's going on, but they're always there. So it's like, what do I keep to myself as a way of protecting my family? And what is really times that I should have exposed it so that we could have grown and healed together, because we then hit pitfalls throughout different parts of our journey that really could have been mediated early on.
That's a lot right there. That's a lot. I love that. I love that. So that being said, tell us what happened. You shared earlier on another podcast, about a situation with your ex-husband.
Yeah.
Right. And I talk about this a lot on this podcast. This podcast is all about helping others become better. And a lot of times for us to become better, we must hit a breaking point. We must have a moment where everything in life breaks apart. They say that healing is not linear. It's not a straight line. And sometimes everything has to fall apart and break for you to see all the pieces you need in order to fix it. What was that moment when things fell apart and broke for you?
Well, as a lot of people who are part of our community, and as I'm trying to speak out more, is I am a survivor of domestic violence, but I think the level of brutality that I survived is something that needs more exposure and more change around. So I got remarried. I had 2 more boys. We had a blended family. But during that time, we also were fighting our own demons. We, were coming out of the pandemic where you're kind of left with your demons for a long time, isolated, and then trying to navigate life as a newly blended family with 2 little ones. I was, at the time, hindsight's 2020, I was suffering with postpartum depression, which I thought I didn't get again, because I had it actually with my first pregnancy. I had prepartum depression. I was starting to feel it before I actually gave birth, because I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. It was like this alien inside of me. I'm like, I want to tie my shoes. I can't tie my shoes. I can't eat sushi. I can't jump on a trampoline. Like, why are they telling me all these things I can't do? And so I tried to be prepared for that going into the next pregnancies, but with the emotional and physical abuse that was happening, I couldn't focus on myself. And I think that's where there wasn't just like, there's one big breaking point, but there was all the little cracks in the cement leading up to that big break of I stopped worrying about myself and take caring of myself. And so it eventually got to the point where we were getting ready for Christmas. There was a memory that popped up on my phone that I was one day late from getting my Christmas tree out. And I knew, I'm like, I should be having Mariah Carey blasting. Like, what is going on? Like, I was like so hyped up to just pull out my Christmas tree. And I start getting things in and out of our garage. So the way our house was set up is you have the garage, you cut through a galley kitchen, and you wrap around and you'll be in our living room and dining room. So I was going back and forth, just happy, pulling out Christmas decorations, getting ready. My husband was in the kitchen. He was drinking. He was giving me a little bit of a hard time, saying like, hey, drink with me. I would participate. I didn't want to make him mad. And that was some of the eggshells that we'd been living in for honestly a few years, that, okay, I would comply with our addictions and our demons and drinking because it was easier to go along with it than to fight against it.
Yeah.
And it was easier to play the game than to be the referee.
Speak on it. Yeah.
And so as I was going through, he was dealing with his own issues and he was fighting something with me, but within his own head. I was not participating. If I was participating, you guys know I'm loud. I get in the middle of things, but I was not participating this night. And I was going back and forth with my totes. And at one point, I passed through and it was on like Donkey Kong. Like, it was a full UFC fight. I was punched in the face. I was uppercut so many times that I had bruises of the actual knuckles on my chin. I was slammed in between our refrigerator and our wall so many times that there was actually blood splatter on the refrigerator that I had to come back to in my house and clean up later. And then I think the ultimate point where I thought, like, everybody says, like, when it comes your time, like, you'll have like this flash of your life or this white light moment. I was being choked all the way up the wall where my feet were no longer on the ground. And I was like, okay, I started counting down. I'm like, I have maybe a handful of seconds. Like, what do I do? Like, what are my boys going to do? Where are they going to live? Who's going to take care of them? And then in that instant, I know I was trying to grab to try and like pull his arms off or his hand off my neck. And I realized I had gotten my nails done recently, and I never have, because I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't picking myself with something. Everybody says things happen for a reason. I chose to get my nails done that week before. So I took my hand and I clawed, and I was able to drop to the ground. And in that moment, it was that lifetime movie scene where I'm like, I had the garage door. I was going in and out. I'm like, the garage door, that's my way out.
Yeah.
And I jumped up and I slammed the button and I go running across the street. I'm very fortunate that I live across the street from my parents. But the reason that a lot of people don't know why I live across the street from my parents is because they were seeing the abuse for years. They didn't know how to take care of it, so they moved me closer to them. That way, if something was to happen, they could be there, or they could be kind of watching or being around. Like, if they pop in and out more often, maybe it won't be that bad.
Okay, so just to clarify for the audience. So this is not the first time you've been abused by your husband.
No, it was not.
It's been something ongoing.
It was not the first, but it was the worst.
Got you. Okay.
And when I ran across the street, I was dripping in blood. I bust through my parents' door. They're getting ready for bed. They're shutting off their lights. Like, they think it's like honestly, I think it was a Thursday night. It was like before a holiday. And they thought something horrible has happened. There's a burglary. They're trying to steal the kids or stuff in the house. Like, they had no idea. My brother, who we're 16 months apart, he instantly grabs a baseball bat and goes running across the street. Like, he's ready to take down whoever is causing havoc in our house. My dad's, putting on his pants and they're taking off. I'm sitting in the chair. My mom's calling 911 because I am so brutally beaten that she can't even look at me. And when my dad and my brother run across the street, they're met with my husband, not a burglar. And I think that was a huge breaking point for my family in general, but definitely my brother and my dad, because they were expecting a monster, which they were met with, but in a form of what they called family. And I was taken by ambulance. There was a lot of commotion because at this point I was actually in and out of consciousness because the adrenaline of the situation had gone down. Yeah. And I remember I was in the back of the ambulance and the EMT was crying. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I'm kind of in and out. Like, that's weird. Like, maybe he like cut himself or hurt himself. And he was trying to explain to the other EMT where to take pictures because of the injuries that I had. So he was trying to explain that I have bite marks all the way down my arm and underneath, because as I was protecting myself, and as we learn in some of our HIIT classes and kickboxing classes, you make sure you keep your hands up. Mm-hmm. Well, I had my hands up, but that didn't matter. He was trying to bite through my literal flesh to get to me, to hit me. And I was taken to the hospital. What happened next, that was a blur. I was taken in and out of different rooms. There was different procedures. At one point, I actually had to get up, and I told my dad had followed with the ambulance, and I actually have never told him this, but I want to say, like, I wish he wasn't the one to see me in that state. Like, you're daddy's little girl. You don't want to see me at my absolute shreds, and they're taking blood and they're examining me, and I'm like, I have to get up and go to the bathroom. I couldn't even stand up because I didn't realize how bad it was. And when I did, I looked in the mirror, and that was the first time I saw injuries. Like, I felt it. You could feel like you're sore, something happened. but I actually saw some of the marks and the bruises, and my whole inside of my mouth was cut from my face being grabbed and my teeth ripping open my cheeks. And I just kind of fell. And I'm like, I don't really know what happened after that. And then I was like, okay, I'm being released after, I think it was like 5 or 6 hours. They've done all their tests. There's only so much they could do. They're like, you have to go home. You have to rest. There was a big part of me that, like, I knew something bad had happened. I didn't realize the extremity of how bad it was. But I'm like, shit, people know now. Like, because I've kept things behind closed doors for a long time because I didn't want to deal with it. And I didn't want to have to say it out loud to have other people deal with it.
Yeah.
And that was blown open. And I'm like, I'm going to go home. I just want to climb on my bed. Like, I want to make sure I get to the boys. And before I even get home, I'm told you can't go home. He's already been booked out of jail. So he posted bail before I got out of the emergency room. And that was mind blowing to me because I'm like, but I thought this thing just happened. Like, I'm like, did it happen? Like, then I started questioning a lot of things. I'm like, I thought it was bad. Like, there was a paramedic crying. I'm trying to just keep it together. I'm full of stitches and gauze. And I'm like, but they let him out. So where do I go? I had no choice but to take one bag, my 3 boys, and leave town, not knowing when I was going to be able to come back. And that instantly kicked in a survival mode that I could only assume people in war have, where you're like, you got to go. You're fight or flight. Like, I can't fight this because I have no idea where he is. I don't know how to fight this, but I'm going to fly. I got to go in order to protect them. And that's when I could say was obviously the breaking point, but where I consciously wasn't taking care of myself anymore because I was in survival mode to keep the kids, protected, because if he could do that to me, what could he do to somebody else?
Yeah.
And I don't want them to know all of it. So it's a protection of physicality, making sure that they're safe, and a protection of emotionally, how can their dad or their stepdad that they've lived with for majority of their life hurt the one person that is their everything? A mom is the center of a little boy's life. And I had a friend come over that next night after I got settled at my older brother's house, and she does movie makeup. And I called her and I'm like, Jerry, something happened. And she's like, okay. She didn't even have to like question anything. I'm like, can you bring your makeup stuff? She's like, yep. And she drove 2.5 hours to me and the kids. And she spent the whole night showing me how to cover all of my injuries, my bruises, my wounds, how to do like the prosthetics, because I had actual scratches and scars, so that the boys wouldn't have to see it. That was my biggest thing, is like, it was bad. And as injuries progress, it gets worse before it gets better. Your bruises get deeper, they get yellow. You feel things that you haven't felt those first couple of days because now some injuries may have healed. And I had to hide it. And so thank you. Shout out to Jerry for, being a lifeline and coming and showing me that. But there was one time where I came out of a shower and I didn't have all that makeup on. And I saw the look on my now 11-year-old son's face. And that broke his heart because he didn't know quite what had happened. He knew something. We were staying at Uncle Trino's house. It was like a little staycation, but he didn't know that I had gotten hurt.
Wow.
And I just think of all the times for any man or woman that have gone through physical abuse, how many times you hide it and the extremes that you go to hide it, whether it's with makeups, turtlenecks, sweaters, long pants. Like, there's how many times somebody will be right next to you at work and you don't know what they went through the night before to be able to be at work. So I just want everybody who's listening, watching, just be aware, be sensitive. You don't know what that person just went through. So if you think you're having a rough day, or if somebody kind of, didn't say the right thing in a meeting, or, was too long at a red light, they could have just went through their worst night to get to where they are. So just take a moment and breathe, because it takes a lot to get there. And what we have to do to hide it is a big deal.
That's a lot. Yeah. And I just want to say, first off, that shit hella pisses me off, right? I've committed a lot of crimes in my life, but I've never put my hands on a woman, never put my hands on a kid, no sex crimes, none of that. Like those are big no-nos in my book. And so shout out to you for surviving that. And any man that puts their hands on a woman is trash in my opinion. But I'm glad you're here, right? I'm so grateful that you're here. And I'm so grateful that you're a part of our community, right? You know, at a Better You Fitness, our goal is to help moms like you crawl out of that darkness and become the best version of themselves, you know, and we use fitness as a platform, right? But fitness is just a platform. My really good friend Zune, he taught me this saying. He says, fitness is the gateway to greatness, right? And when I heard that, I was like, that's phenomenal statement right there. Fitness is the gateway to greatness. We utilize fitness as a tool to create a foundation, and then we use that foundation to build off of. And when you can build off of that foundation, you can accomplish anything you want in life, right? So now I want to talk to you about that. But first off, you know, how you liking the cardio kickboxing classes? You learn how to throw some punches, right?
I definitely learned how to throw some punches.
Right? You ready to punch someone in the face if they try to get you again? You know, you know, so I want to kind of just dive deep into, you know, you becoming a part of our community, you know, because, you know, we were introduced through a mutual friend and you and I talked a few times on Instagram and you were not yet ready. And I'm grateful that you didn't try to join us until you were ready, right? Because I'm a straight shooter. I will call people on their shit. And sometimes when people are not ready and they try to be ready too soon and then I call them on their shit, they don't like it. And, you know, they can push people away. It's kind of just, I'm going to call people on their shit. That's just how I am. Always going to be like that, you know? But tell us about your choice to, you know, because it's a choice. To work on yourself is a choice, right? If you want to truly change your life and the direction of your life, you have to make a conscious decision to do so. It's not going to happen on accident. It's going to happen with intention. So can you tell us a little bit about your choice to make that change?
Yeah. So I was in survival mode probably for a good year and a half, 2 years. And to the point where not only was I not taking care of myself, like emotionally, because I couldn't let myself process it because I wasn't saying things out loud, but physically, like I wasn't brushing my teeth. I'm like, have I brushed my hair? Like, do I have things just to even take care of myself? I don't know when the last time I ate. I probably shouldn't just be chugging Red Bulls trying to get through the next 2 days. Like, this isn't living. This is just getting through.
Yeah.
And I had a friend from late college and like early years of working, and he came to me. He's like, hey, like something's going on. Like, what's wrong with you? And I kind of had to explain, like, hey, like this thing happened. And he's like, oh shit, like you were the strongest person I ever knew. Like, in a way, he's like, how did you let that happen? And you never let that happen. But I let myself fall so far down after. Like, yes, 2 people, I was the strongest person they ever knew. I was the loudest, funniest, like just bring everybody together person. And I wasn't. And when I wasn't that, I didn't feel like anything. I had mentioned, like, I was a shell of a person. I was walking around just making sure my kids had food, clothes, water, a place to live. Like, we weren't doing anything. And Coach Paul and A Better You Fitness came in. It was introduced. And like Paul said, like, I reached out a couple of times. I ghosted him, I think twice, like hard.
I'm used to it at this point.
I'm like, no, this is because it's very much in your face. He's like, okay, you ready for this? You ready? And I wasn't. I had to be very, very honest with myself. I'm like, I wasn't ready to wake up. I wasn't ready to be disciplined in not eating, but actually trying to eat because I wasn't doing anything to nourish myself. So to have somebody make me accountable, I think that was the hardest part. I'm like, I'm not ready to face that. And then I got mad when that friend said, like, you used to be the strongest person I knew. And I'm like, fuck, I used to be the strongest person. Like, how do I get back to that? And that's when I was like, all right, I'm doing it. I don't think I even like, I messaged you. I'm like, okay, I'm in. And he's like, well, we have to do the nutrition, like the first setup thing. And I'm like, okay. And like, I sat through that meeting. I'm like, I'm in. Like, I'm doing this. Like, when do we start? But I had to have that like fire. I had to be ready to do that because from that point, it's been nonstop. And I'm very much, open about my struggles with, my demons, addiction, alcohol, but even mental health. Like, I've struggled. I'm clinically bipolar and I have ADHD, which is the like hyper, like I can't do some cognitive functioning, yet I'm supposed to like keep people alive and run businesses and write code and do all this stuff. I'm like, how do I balance that? Well, once I started working out, I was joking with half the people in the gym. I'm like, I may not be the most fit. I may not have the best form, but I will be the loudest and I'm going to keep on yelling because when I do that, I feel better. I'm releasing all the things that I've kept in me for years. And there's times like we joke in some of the rooms at the gym. I'm like, okay, don't come in the C room. Like, we're getting all of it out. We're just grunting and screaming. Like, don't mute the music. Like, we're doing this because that was the best form of therapy I think I ever had. Yeah, I tried to heal. They tell you like, oh, you should go to domestic violence support groups. You should do this. You should write a journal. Like, I tried all that. When I would go to domestic violence support groups, it was heartbreaking because not only did I live through this, but I was seeing other people live through this that I couldn't help. And I couldn't help them because I wasn't helping myself. Now I'm trying to help myself so I can help others because the more we say out loud, that means that somebody else isn't alone. Because for 2 years, I didn't want to scare people with what had happened to me. So I didn't talk about it. When it's happening, whether I talk about it or not, how do we get them out of it? So once I got to Better You Fitness and I saw that we had a community of women and men that have shit that they're going through. Everybody has a different reason, a different journey, a different why, but we're all going through some shit, whether it's a bad Monday or a bad 10 years. We're going through something and we could do it together and not being alone. It was the biggest part. Like, I don't know how to ask for help. I was joking. I don't even know how to spell help. HELP, just for my boys. Just I do know how to spell.
She does know how to spell it.
But I never say that word. And to have a group of people that feel that same way and you could just look at them and be like, all right, I got you today. And I'm like, all right, we're gonna dance, we're gonna mess around, because I see it in your eyes. Because all I wanted in some of those moments through those years is somebody just to take a second and look and be like, all right, I got you. I see something's there. You may not be able to talk about it. There may be other people in the room, but I see you. And that's all you need. It's just one person to look at you and see you. And that's what we have.
I love that. I love that. And I just wanted to like really point out something that you kind of reiterate on something is you talked about the community we've built, right? And, that's one of the things I prioritize when someone comes in to have their initial consultation with me at a Better You Fitness is I put all the cards on the table. I don't sugarcoat nothing. I tell them exactly what my program is, but I also tell them exactly who I am. I tell them about my 10 years in prison. I tell them about overcoming drug addiction, and I tell them about how I've transformed my life, and our facility is not just about losing weight or building muscle, but it's about transforming your entire life. And that's the goal. The goal is to help people transform their lives, right? Now, it's not always going to be just about fitness. Mm-hmm. And that's something I really prioritize with our team, even to the point where, we hired your brother as a coach, mm-hmm. right? And he's, using fitness and now using our facility as the way to stay sober and to stay sane, mm-hmm. right? And now you've started going through the process to become a coach as well, mm-hmm. right? And it's the same thing for you. So can you kind of share with the audience what it's like for you to go from you went from a broken shell of a human being, like you said, to finding some hope, finding your position within our facility as a member. Mm-hmm. And then before I even have you answer this question, recently I put a post out in our EverFit group, right? We have a group in our app. And I was like, hey, I'm looking for someone that wants to come and be a coach and be a part of this journey. And we don't have a lot of hours to give you because we're still up and coming group fitness. We're still growing. And you were one of the few people to reach out and like, I want to be a coach. I want to be a part of what you're doing. I know I'm not the most fit or have the best form, but I 100% want to be a part of this journey so we can help more people. And I was like, awesome. Right. And so we've started the process for you. And how's that going for you? And can you kind of share with the audience a little bit about not just the aspect of becoming a coach, but how that's going to help you transform your life?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest takeaways that I had is, I know the journey that my brother is on, and
Mhm.
I'm fully in support of that. And keeping him sane and sober, it looks different for him. I was going through the same exact path, but I couldn't be as open about my struggles and staying sane and sober because I have a lot of little humans that are responsible for me. And I didn't want, the stigma of like, oh, she's trying to keep it together. But that's what I look like, and when I think about when I went to the gym and had the community, I'm like, I want other people that look like me, that feel like me, that are pushing through the same thing. I could look at a Moses or a Paul and be like, yeah, you guys are jacked. This is fun. You guys could do all your burpees. But I had a really rough menstrual cycle and I may not be able to do that, but I need somebody that looks like me, feels like me, talks like me to also be there. I'm not saying a replacement because I need you. Like, I need you in my face, calling me out on my stuff, but I also need something that's familiar. And I think that's when I reached out. I'm like, I understand Moses' journey. I fully understand and support your journey, but I also need my journey to coincide with that because it's familiar. And we don't want people to get comfortable, but you need some type of comfort level so that when you hit those pitfalls, that you have something to push you a little bit more. That's maybe a little bit more nurturing than your guys' big muscles, but that way I'm there. And I want to see me and all the women and men that we're helping see themselves when they reflect back, because I couldn't see me in this position or wanting to do this months ago because I was barely getting my butt out of bed and brushing my teeth, let alone I feel more balanced. I feel healthier. I have way more energy, not based on caffeine that I pumped into my veins and my blood, but through actually feeling good about myself and how to do that with other people.
I love that. I love it. And especially, something I really want to point out. We were, talking about this earlier. Um, the thing about Rosie is she has the same type of energy that me and her brother Moses have, but with a feminine touch. And we need that at Better You Fitness because we can only put up with enough muscles and tattoos for one day. And too much Coach Paul and Coach Moses could drive some people crazy. And the fact that we primarily serve women in the East Bay area, most of them being moms, we needed a female touch, but we needed a female touch of someone that has the high energy we need to help these women push through when they're tired, when they're going through a rough period, or when they're just dealing with life on life's terms and they feel like they can't do it, but they have another woman just like them doing it as well. It's also funny. I got a little funny story for the audience. So we're doing this really cool challenge. So at A Better You Fitness, we like to run challenges. We like to really push people to challenge themselves and push themselves. We don't just want to be like, oh, come lift some weights and work out. We want to just really challenge people to become their best selves, a better you. That's what it's all about. And so we're running this red carpet challenge. And this is the first of the kind that we do 6-week challenges. If you're interested in transforming your life, we help you lose 15 to 20 pounds in 6 weeks. We use a combination of fitness, nutrition, and accountability. You got 3 classes per week with one of our coaches. You got full-on nutrition coaching with a meal plan, grocery list, meal prep guide, recipe book, everything you need to be successful. And then you get straight raw dog accountability, right? You get accountability for your fellow members. You get accountability for our past members that are currently, crushing their goals, our alumni challengers, and then you get accountability from your coaches. And so those 3 pillars right there get you amazing results. We do this when someone first joins our facility, and you did a 6-week challenge, right? You completed your 6-week challenge, and then you transferred into a membership. What we decided to do 5 weeks ago is this red carpet challenge. Well, we decided more than 5 weeks ago, but we kicked it off 5 weeks ago. It's called a red carpet challenge. And the goal of the red carpet challenge was we were going to take all of our current members who had already done a 6-week challenge and their motivation might be starting to dwindle, right? And we strategically positioned it to start shortly around Mother's Day. And the reason being is because most of our members are moms. And Mother's Day is a tough time for a lot of women because a lot of these moms are not happy with the way they look or feel, and it's hard for them to celebrate themselves. Nonetheless, have someone they care, their kids or their significant others, celebrate them. So Mother's Day can actually be a depressing time for a lot of moms. your boy Coach Paul has done a little bit of homework on psychology when it comes to women. I've never been a woman, but I know a few things about them, right? And so not only that, but summertime's coming up.
Mhm.
And we intentionally ran this challenge to run into the first week of summer because same thing. 6 weeks before summer is a time where a lot of people quit, specifically women, quit on their fitness goals because they had a goal to get into a bathing suit by summer. And now 6 weeks out, they are still not ready to get into that bathing suit. And so they give up. So we chose to run this challenge for the specific reason of supporting our members at a time where most people start to struggle. Most moms start to struggle in this area. So we ran this red carpet challenge. We're 5 weeks in, it's almost over. And we had this extravagant idea about throwing this really cool party. We're gonna do this party and everything. And then Rosie was like, all right, Coach Paul, so what do you got planned for the party? And all I heard in my head was crickets, right? I don't even know how to do the noise of a cricket, right? But I have no idea how to throw a party like this, how to decorate like this, how to set this up. And so between me and Moses, both of us being, high energy men, men don't know shit about most things, right? And we needed a woman to help us. And we're so grateful because we had a meeting. We literally had a meeting like 3 days ago. 2 days ago, yesterday. It was yesterday. Dan, time flies when you have fun.
It all blurs together.
Right? It was yesterday. We literally had a meeting yesterday. And we were like, Rosie was like, all right, so what's the plan? What are we going to do for decorations? And both me and Moses looked at each other like just dummies. And she's like, don't trip. I got this. And started telling, Coach, you're going to buy this and buy this and buy this. Like, all right, hold on, take notes. And we were able to, put it all together. We're doing a potluck. We're going to get food together. We're going to have a good time, right? And we're going to celebrate each other. And that's amazing. And so I say all that because, I've been building my business for a while. Right. And in building the business, you lose people along the way. You gain people along the way. Everything happens for a reason. And I'm just really grateful to have you as a part of this journey.
Well, thank you. I do believe everything happens for a reason. And I kind of joke that I'm always like whiskey in a teacup. Like you look pretty on the outside, but sometimes you're a hard sip to swallow. And so joking that you and Moses are the same person. Like sometimes I walk out of a room, I can't deal with both you guys like this. But Moses is my best friend, and if I could spend more time with him and I get a double, there's moments where we're all a little much. There's a lot of woohoos and tattoos and muscles going on, but
there's no such thing as too many tattoos and muscles. What you mean, girl?
We're working on it. But I'm very thankful that in a way, it's like a weird, messed up puzzle that we still fit together. It's like, what's the puzzle that you kind of get wet and you're like, oh, it fits together, but you have to smush it down a little bit.
Some little flaps are up. Right?
We all fit together and we make it work. And so even with our, red carpet party that's coming up, we're so excited to celebrate our community. We're making it work. It may not be this extravagant idea that we may have first had in our head, but the people that are walking through, the humans, the souls that feel so much better after the 6 weeks, that what makes it extravagant. So I'm excited to see how it all pulls together.
I love that. And if you're in the Hayward or Castro Valley area and you're looking to completely transform your life through fitness, nutrition, and accountability, and you want direct support from us to help you do that, reach out. We got our next 6-week challenge kicking off very soon, and we'd love to help you get there. Rosie, you did your first 6-week challenge. What were your results from that 6-week challenge?
In my first 6-week challenge, I believe, I was going to have to dig in my memory, I lost 11.6 pounds and almost 3 or 4% body fat, but I gained 2% of muscle. So for me, it was really, the number game is great, but I felt the difference. So yeah, that almost 12 pounds of weight of fat and then gaining the muscle, I felt the energy because I was nourishing my body. I was, feeding the muscles that I had. So I felt stronger to be able to do stuff for longer in the day and kick ass when I needed to, but also learning how to also rest. As a mom, I don't think that's in our vocabulary at all. And when you're doing things right, you're losing the weight, you're sweating, you're exhausted because you just kicked your own butt in class. you have to rest and recover and start over, because guess what? Tomorrow's still coming. You have to be ready for tomorrow. And then I've done about 11.4 pounds in the second 6 weeks challenge. I've gained some muscle, but I'm kind of fluctuating with some of my sugars and stuff like that. This is why we did the second 6 weeks challenge, because I'm like, okay, you go so hard because you want to see those results at first. I mean, you're like, I'm investing in myself. I'm dedicating this time to myself. So you see that initial change, and then you think you could be like, oh, I could have this cookie. It's okay. You cannot have your cookie. Just kidding. Depends. But you start to think, I met this goal, and you can start to relax. Well, that doesn't mean that goal's done. You have to move your goal. It's a better you fitness. You're getting better every single day. It's the small wins. Like, okay, I maybe didn't hit my 10K steps today, but I got 9,000. That's still a lot of steps. That's better than me doing no steps if I just laid in bed and watched, a show all day and felt bad about myself. So it's, what can you take away each day that made you feel better than what you did yesterday?
Yeah, and I want to touch on something you said about eating the cookie, right? That's an important topic here. In fact, I've had a lot of consultations this week getting people set up for our next 6-week challenge. And I've heard like 4 or 5 people say recently that cookies have been a struggle for them. And if you want to lose weight and still eat the foods you love, you can do that. But you have to have the right blueprint. You have to have a strategic plan. See, we teach our members what we call the self-love meal blueprint. We don't believe in cheat meals. The only thing, if you're not cheating on your husband, then you're good to go, right? But a cheat meal is a negative comment. A self-love meal is something you do for yourself, and you do it with intention. And what I mean by doing it with intention is, if you know that your kid's birthday is coming up on Saturday and you're going to throw them a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese's, then you plan accordingly. You prep your food ahead of time. You eat on track with your nutrition, maybe in more of a calorie deficit throughout the week, so that on Saturday, when you go to Chuck E. Cheese, you can eat a couple slices of pizza and a piece of cake without going overboard or too crazy, and it won't completely derail your goals because you had intention, you had a blueprint, and you were strategic with that activity. Moving into Sunday, the following day, you're back on track with your nutrition. See, the mistake most people make when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to working on their fitness goals, is it's Friday, I'm going to have a slice of pizza. It's Saturday, I'm going to a birthday party. It's Sunday, fuck it, I already ate on Friday and Saturday too much. I might as well keep going. Oh my God, it's Monday and I didn't prep any food because I kept going on Sunday. I might as well slide through a drive-through on Monday. And we all know when life gets busy, time flies. And when time starts flying, now it's been 2 to 3 weeks, you have been off on your nutrition because you were not intentional with it. And because you weren't intentional with it, you've now overconsumed calories and actually gained weight. So it's super important. So I love that you did mention that, about the cookie, and, you said it depends. And that's something we really teach our members to understand. Like, it does depend. It really does depend, because you can eat that cookie and still lose weight. I also want to point something out that you mentioned, and I'm super proud of you for picking this up and understanding this, is when you talked about weight, you talked about losing fat, not just losing weight. See, at A Better You Fitness, we don't just help you lose weight, we help you lose fat. Our members come here to lose weight, but anyone can lose weight. You can snort cocaine and lose weight, but if you do it properly, you're going to build muscle and lose fat, which is going to change your body. It is going to give you more energy. It is going to make you stronger for your kids. It's going to make you look better in your clothes, and it's just going to make you a happier, healthier human being anyways, right? And so you lost almost 12 pounds of body fat in your first 6 weeks.
Yep.
We're at this is week 5. You still got another week to go, girl. And you're like 11.4 pounds down in this next 6-week challenge.
Signing up everyday class.
Right. And you coaching now too. You're definitely going to get your steps in with all the coaching you're going to be doing. So right there, that's almost 2 pounds of body fat every week, right? Healthy body fat loss is 1 to 2 pounds per week. If you are on the right plan, you should consistently lose 1 to 2 pounds of body fat. And if you're building muscle, you might not necessarily see the number on the scale go down, but you will see your clothes changing. They will fit differently. The pictures you take will look better. You'll feel more confident. You'll like what you see. Your significant other might not be able to keep their hands off of you. And that's because you're losing fat and gaining muscle. So don't always depend just on the scale, but also look at these other factors to determine success. Right? And you pointed that out and you realized that, right? And that's because I tell you guys all the time, you know, our gym is not just about weight loss. It's about fat loss. It's about changing the body. So I'm proud of you for that. I'm so proud of you. You got any big things on the horizon that you want to share with the audience?
No, just I'm here. I'm here for whoever needs somebody, whether it's, you know, to talk or not talk. I'll look at you and we'll just stare at each other if we need to. But I'm in class. I will be the loudest person. I'm sorry. Some people are like, it's a little loud for me this morning. I'm like, I'm sorry. I have to get it out. So I'll be your biggest cheerleader in class, outside of class. Like, we're here. The biggest thing is I felt really alone and I could do everything I can to make somebody not feel alone. So that's what I'm doing from today on.
Love it. And I want to talk about this shirt that I'm wearing before we end the podcast. So during my 10 years in prison, my mom was my backbone. And, you know, she died 5 years into those 10 years. But during the 5 years that she was still alive, she would always send me cards and send me letters. And she'd sign them off, peace and love. So I recently got these special edition shirts made. They say peace, love, and protein, right? I threw the protein on there because we all know how important protein is. I got these special edition shirts made for my mom in my mom's honor. If you look at our logo, there's a heart with a peace sign as well. It is also in her honor. And so I wanted to give you a shirt, Rosie, a peace, love, and protein shirt for Rosie here.
Thank you.
Because, you know, you're a phenomenal human being and we appreciate you so much. And, you know, we want to keep spreading that message.
Does it come with a protein subscription? Because that's where we're deficit.
If you want protein, hit me up. I got a link for you. Link in bio. You know, shout out to Prestige Labs for giving us those good supplements and taking good care of us at A Better You Fitness. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. For those that haven't heard the other podcast she was recently on, we had her on another podcast earlier today. We're going to keep getting that story out there. We want to keep impacting more and more lives, specifically women that have struggled with the things that you struggle with. Because, you know, a lot of times that, you know, they can hear the words from a male's voice, but sometimes they need a woman to tell them. And that's super important. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me, not only here, but on this journey.
Absolutely. All right, so thank you everyone for joining us today on the A Better You Fitness podcast. This podcast is all about helping others become better human beings, becoming a little bit better every single day. If you enjoyed this episode, which you sure as hell should have, right? Please share this episode with someone who could find value in it, someone who might be going through the same situation or have a similar journey as Rosie's, so that we can impact and change more lives and help more people become better versions of themselves as well. Also, please help us by doing a 5-star review on the podcast, because this really helps us continue to grow and impact more lives so we can become one of the best rated podcasts out there. And as always, we end this with the same way we started, with peace, love, and protein.
You fell asleep. Did you leave a note on the door?
Huh?
I was like, you know, like when you're like, I'll be back in 15 years, like the wall. Was he in his car?
No, he's out there on the phone.
Oh. We'll do our pictures and I think I might change.
Sorry, I think there was some issues.
Good.
It's self-service now. Let's add a new little box.
Yeah.
There's a scanner that you can scan in. 24-hour access.